Power cut party, the beginning of the end. Moving from Bacountry, Heath felt akin to a shabby dream, as the North Shields flat was not only dusty, but also cramped, it would seem. Initially, Ryan stared at the spacious void of his former life, while the current monotonous, tedious air cut like a knife. "It's bad enough that we're here," Ryan grumbled with a ton of lead, "but this shoebox is substandard. I'd rather than be dead." Storm sighed. "Whisht, Ryan. We'll maintain our standards soon. Fortunately, we'll reassess the itinerary before the wane of the moon. Of course, we must review, consider, and recall the recap, rather than diminish our hope with a tedious mishap." The removal van was postponed, its itinerary gone pear-shaped. Consequently, the family's hungry cries could not be escaped. To make matters worse, they were back to square one for a meal, ordering Pizza Hut and McDonald's with lackluster zeal. Day in, day out, the heap of boxes began to accumulate. Fortunately, they didn't propose to prolong this appalling state. To top things off, the lack of a kitchen made Brendan irate. "Are you for real? I object to this greasy fate." Ryan made a request, an inquiry for a burger with cheese, only to find that the inquiry brought no sufficient ease. "Tough luck," Brendan groaned. "We've yet to find a spoon." Ryan longed for his ice hockey team and precious Nibbles the hamster. His heart was crestfallen, thumping like a clumsy tap dancer. He played paper hockey with pucks that were infantile and juvenile, albeit his scrunched-up demonstration lacked any loquacious style. With incessant thwacks, he would mimic a slap shot so grand, but his juvenile game was marred by the lack of his London land. He'd start from scratch with every goal, a relentless monotony, unintentionally vandalizing the floor. A cacophonous autonomy. He would assume the role of a star, all along hoping he hadn't gone down south too far. They visited a pizza shop that was notorious and dismal, where Ms. Tiddler's abysmal service was truly abysmal. The broccoli pizza had a stench that was rotten and sour, a horrendous scent that could obliterate a flower. Ryan had a phobia of greens, to put it mildly, and the stench made him feel livid and wildly. "You canna eat this," Ryan scowled. "The savory taste is vacant." Miss Tiddler looked hostile, her cranky ire quite adjacent. Ironically, a health complaint soon caused the shop's demise, an irrevocable U-turn for the better in the ginger boy's eyes. Starting school was the ultimate error. A severe circumstance. Ryan was reduced to tears before he even had a chance. Prior to lunch, he felt like an alien in a hostile place, as the juvenile cacophony mocked his tear-streaked face. Silas, the teacher, was lenient, but the inconsistent sobs were overlooked by the class. No wonder he felt distraught by the stabbing, monotonous gas. "I protest," he choked, but his request fell on deaf ears, as he contemplated his demise and his mounting fears. Silas tried to intervene, but the sabotage was complete. Ryan felt expelled from his former London street. At a Chinese takeaway, the monotony caused a big mistake. The bickering and squabble were more than he could take. "Shut up," Ryan hollered, an outrageous retaliation, adding fuel to fire in their current dire situation. Brendan was livid, his fury erupting like a volcano. "That's the final straw." "To your room. Proceed like a piano." The implication was clear. Ryan's conduct was substandard. His petulant outrage had inadvertently meandered. "Not so fast," Storm interrupted, but Brendan's rebuke was insistent, as he chastised the boy with a fury quite consistent. In his vacant room, Ryan felt inconsolable and resigned. The monotony of his dreadful room was a dire sign. His infancy in this town was marred by a sanction so severe. To make matters worse, his precious hockey sticks weren't here. Storm intervened with a compliment, trying to reassess the day, but the deteriorated atmosphere would not relent or sway. "I long for the lake," Ryan sobbed, his ire now wane, as the monotonous rain drummed against the appalling pain. He felt hesitant to stay, resistant to the move, longing to find a rhythm in a newly found groove. They tried to elude the gloom with trips to Newcastle and beyond, but of the lackluster itinerary, Ryan was anything but fond. Sunderland and Edinburgh failed to right a wrong or please. Even the grand monuments couldn't put his distraught heart at ease. Each trip backfired. His monotonous dismay would persist. To say the least, the light at the end of the tunnel didn't exist. He was crestfallen day after day. His joy gradually faded by the horrendous circumstance of being relentlessly jaded. Furthermore, the weather was appalling and gray, diminishing any spark that faltered away. The ferry to Northern Ireland was the penultimate dilemma. The salty spray mimicked his dreadful internal lemma. Contrary to Brendan's hope, Ryan refused to engage, feeling barred from the spacious joy of his former stage. The incessant motion made him feel prone to regret, a cacophonous malfunction he would never mind or forget. "It's atrocious," he muttered. "I forfeit this tedious ride," while the horrendous waves crashed against the ship's side. He remained disengaged, insistent on his gloom, hesitating to leave the safety of his monotonous room. Finally, Brendan looked at the screen, back to the drawing board, searching for a house in Barking where spacious rooms were stored. "We're returning to London," he cried. A U-turn unforeseen, the light at the end of the tunnel shimmered on the screen. Fortunately, Ryan's monotonous dismay began to cease, as the prospect of Tower Hamlets brought a sufficient peace. Under no circumstances would they set foot in that flat again, hence they fled the North Shields shoebox and the appalling rain. "I'm convinced," Ryan beamed, "this dilemma is past," as they eliminated the dismal move at long, long last.